How does a 10th anniversary dinner turn into a quiet public ending? What happens when a wife thinks she controls the story, but her husband arrives with a folder of proof and a divorce petition ready to go? Can any apology matter once the orders start that same day? I'm Mara Verlaine, and this is how I broke my own life. I like to tell people my marriage was fine, just boring really. I had a stable husband, a safe apartment, a sweet little girl. From the outside, we looked like every other quiet family on our street. Inside my head, though, everything felt small, grey, and stuck in slow motion. I kept thinking that I was meant for something brighter and louder. When Adrian started noticing me at work, the grey finally cracked open. He was my director, older, confident, always knowing what to say. He laughed at my ideas like they were brilliant, not just okay. He told the team he trusted my instincts on client pitches. Every time he said that, I felt taller, lighter, almost like electricity. My husband Liam never gave me that kind of energy, at least not lately. Liam loved routines, budgets, early nights, and quiet weekends at home. He thought love meant paying bills on time and emptying the dishwasher. I thought love should feel more like music and spotlights and applause. Maybe that sounds shallow, but I still think effort should feel exciting. One evening, Adrian suggested we walk by the river after a late meeting. He said it would clear our heads before we went home. I agreed because it sounded harmless and also strangely romantic, in my mind. The air was cool and the lights from the water shimmered. We walked side by side, closer than normal colleagues, hands brushing sometimes by accident. He talked about my future, saying I could lead campaigns, maybe whole departments. I told him Liam never really understood how big I could be. Adrian said calmly that not everyone deserves to stand next to bright people. He did not say Liam's name, but I heard it between every word. I told myself it was just motivation, not anything more serious than that. When my phone buzzed, I saw Liam's name and ignored the message. He had texted asking if I was safe and coming home soon. I decided he could wait because I deserved a little time first. That was the first small secret I kept and liked keeping. At the crosswalk, Adrian's hand touched my arm while he laughed. Something in my chest jumped, and I did not step away. It was not a kiss, not even a hug, just contact. I let myself enjoy it and told myself I imagined the tension. On the way back to the office tower, we took the elevator. In the mirrored walls, we looked like a couple after a good date. I stared at the reflection and briefly pictured him as my partner. The thought scared me but also felt strangely pleasant and exciting. When we reached the parking garage, the air felt colder and sharper. Adrian walked me toward my usual spot, hand hovering near my back. At that moment, Liam drove in and turned his headlights toward us. His face softened when he saw me, then changed when he saw Adrian. The light caught Adrian's hand as it rested briefly on my lower back. Liam got out of the car, forcing a polite smile and hello. Adrian thanked him for picking me up, joking that I worked too hard. Liam responded calmly that he was glad she had someone appreciating her dedication. There was a small pause and I could feel the tension rising. I filled it by talking too fast about deadlines and tight client expectations. In the car, the silence felt heavier than the steering wheel in Liam's hands. He finally asked if there was anything he needed to worry about. I laughed too loudly and told him it was just a work friendship. I added that he had always been jealous of my ambition and energy. He said he trusted me, but not what he had seen in that garage. I snapped that he was being dramatic and old-fashioned about simple office culture. I said he should be proud that other people saw my value. He went quiet again, gripping the wheel a little tighter but still driving carefully. At home, Sophia was already asleep, her toys lined up beside the couch. The living room looked cozy, but I felt bored just staring at it. In our bedroom, Liam tried again to talk in a softer voice. He asked whether I felt something for Adrian or if it was only professional. I rolled my eyes and said no, and that he sounded insecure. I told him that if he truly trusted me, he would stop asking questions. He looked hurt and said he trusted facts more than feelings these days. That annoyed me. because I knew facts could be screenshotted and saved. We lay in bed with our backs turned, a space between us. I scrolled my phone, liking Adrian's latest post about teamwork and courage. Liam lay quietly, staring at the ceiling, breathing slow and steady. In the morning, I woke alone, the other side of the bed cold. Liam was already dressed, his work shirt buttoned, shoes by the door. His phone lay on the nightstand, screen lighting with a reminder. I glanced down and saw the calendar alert. Harbour Centre, 9:20 a.m. When I asked where he was going, he said it was a personal errand. I joked that he finally had a secret life and should enjoy himself. He just nodded, kissed Sophia's forehead, and left without more explanation. Something about his calm bothered me more than any angry reaction would. He did not plead or accuse, he simply moved into his own thoughts. That night, he came home normal time, not late, not early. He was strangely peaceful, listening more than speaking, face quiet and distant. When I raised my voice about feeling unappreciated, he did not fight back. He just said we could talk when I wanted to be honest. That line stung because it felt like he knew more than he said. Later, I called my sister Lena from the living room while Liam showered. I told her Liam had embarrassed himself by acting jealous about a harmless walk. Lena laughed and said most men would brag if their wife attracted directors. I told her Adrian respected me in ways Liam never had, not recently anyway. She said maybe I had outgrown my marriage and should stop dimming myself down. Her words felt like fuel, justifying everything I already wanted to believe. While we talked, I heard the bathroom door open softly behind me. Liam walked through the living room, hair damp, towel over one shoulder. He heard Lena saying that some men simply were not enough for certain women. I pretended not to notice his expression as he picked up his coffee mug. He did not say a word, just nodded once and walked to our bedroom. I told Lena he was being sulky and controlling, and she agreed immediately. After the call, I checked my phone again, hungry for notifications and praise. Adrian had liked one of my posts and commented about my strong leadership skills. I smiled to myself, feeling seen in the way I thought I deserved. When I finally went to the bedroom, Liam was already lying on his side. His phone lay face down, screen dark, charger cable wound neatly around it. He mumbled that we did not need to fight tonight and closed his eyes. I told myself he was giving up, and that I was the strong one now. As he reached over to turn off the lamp, his screen flashed briefly. I caught a glimpse of another reminder labelled, Meeting, Personal, 7:15 p.m. The words disappeared as the phone locked, leaving only my reflection in black glass. The next day at the office, everything felt strangely brighter and louder. Adrian posted a short river clip of us on the team channel. In the video, he joked that I carried the whole campaign. People reacted quickly with laughing emojis and little fire symbols under the post. Priya rolled her chair over and said I looked like a star. She teased that our director obviously had a favourite, and everyone knew it. I shrugged like it meant nothing, but inside it felt delicious. I said Liam probably would not understand the joke and would overreact again. Priya frowned slightly and asked if he really was that jealous lately. I told her he always hated when other people saw my value first. That made her quiet for a moment before she changed the subject. Still, I could tell the idea of Liam being insecure interested her. At lunch, Adrian stopped at my desk and asked if I liked the video. I said the team needed something fun after such a heavy deadline week. He replied that some people shine better without their partners dragging them down. He smiled while he said it, but the meaning felt sharp. I laughed and told him he should not tempt me with promotion promises. He answered that smart people always find ways to sit at better tables. I pretended he was just talking about career moves, nothing more serious than that. Still, the attention felt like sunlight after years of weak early morning clouds. I posted a cropped screenshot of the river moment on my personal story. The caption said that some people finally see me, and I added a wink emoji. Within minutes, my friends reacted with cheering messages and heart eyes. Someone wrote that Liam had better level up before I got stolen. I replied that he was too busy balancing spreadsheets to notice my glow. The words were half joke, half truth, at least in my mind. That evening, before going home, I stopped by the supermarket for snacks. I liked treating myself after a good attention-heavy workday like this. While I stood in the checkout line tossing chips onto the belt, I heard my name. Priya appeared behind me, smiling, with a basket full of frozen meals. She asked if Liam had seen the video yet, or only the screenshot. I told her he probably would pout, but would get over it. She said he seemed very quiet at the office when she saw him. That comment annoyed me, because she sounded slightly protective of him. I said maybe he should toughen up or stay off social media altogether. The cashier looked up briefly, giving me one of those tiny judging glances. For a second, I felt something twist in my stomach, but I ignored it. At home, the kitchen smelled like tomato sauce. Liam had made pasta again. Sophia sat at the table colouring, humming softly, markers spread everywhere. Liam moved around quietly, putting plates down, wiping the counter edges. 2 mugs waited on opposite sides of the counter like they were fighting. I noticed he had washed mine but left his drying on another side. It looked like a tiny border drawn in ceramic and faded coffee lines. During dinner, he asked how my day went without looking up much. I said loudly that it was great because my contributions finally got recognition. I mentioned the video, expecting him to react, maybe show some jealousy again. He just said he had heard about it and would watch later. That calm tone irritated me more than his earlier suspicions ever had. I launched into a speech about how partners should celebrate each other publicly. I said some husbands only understood numbers, not passion or creativity. He nodded slowly and asked if I had talked to Adrian alone again. I answered that he was my boss, and this was normal adult life. I repeated that Liam needed to learn the difference between cheating and leadership culture. Sophia glanced at us, sensing the tension from the rising volume in my voice. I forced a smile toward her and changed the subject to school projects. After dinner, Liam cleared the table while I checked my notifications again. More people had reacted to my story, and my followers' count ticked upward. I felt proud of myself for building a little personal brand like that. When I walked through the dining area, I noticed his laptop open on the table. The screen showed a blank spreadsheet filled with dates and short notes. There were initials and tiny arrows, but no real document titles visible. It looked careful and boring, the kind of thing he never let slip. His phone lay beside the laptop, face up, silent, but unlocked. Just then, a small banner popped up with a calendar reminder. It read, "Meeting personal, 5:05 p.m., scheduled for the following afternoon." I asked if he had joined some secret club or friend group without me. He closed the laptop gently and said he was just organizing personal tasks. I laughed and told him he finally wanted mystery after years of routine. He gave a small half smile that did not reach his eyes. The next day, I knew he left work early for that mysterious meeting. He mentioned nothing about it in the morning, just kissed Sophia's hair. He said he would be home around the usual time, depending on traffic. I rolled my eyes and joked that even his secret life was predictable. When he returned that evening, he seemed almost unnervingly relaxed and steady. He greeted Sophia warmly, asked about her day, then checked the mail quietly. He separated envelopes into 2 stacks, one for shared bills, one for something else. When I reached for one envelope, he gently said he would handle that one. He added that he wanted to double-check a few payments and statements. Nothing personal. The way he said statements made me think of that blank spreadsheet automatically. I tried to tease him, accusing him of becoming paranoid about simple bank letters. He answered that in serious times, it was wise to keep good records. That phrase annoyed me because it sounded like a hint I could not prove. Later, in the living room, I sat scrolling through more comments about my screenshot. A friend had tagged me in a post calling me office goals. Someone else wrote that I was clearly outgrowing my starter husband phase. I replied with laughing emojis, letting the joke sit without correcting anyone. On the sofa across from me, Liam opened his laptop again. He typed dates, paused, and sometimes looked at his phone in silence. I asked if he was logging how often I breathed without permission now. He said he was just tracking things so he would remember them clearly later. I scoffed and told him memory worked fine for most normal people. He replied that he preferred facts over feelings whenever stories started changing around him. That sentence sat between us like a third person on the couch. I told him he made everything heavier than it needed to be. He said calmly that he felt lighter now, actually, and more focused. That response hit me strangely, like he had stepped outside our shared circle. I accused him of punishing me by acting distant and accountant-like. He answered that I was free to call it whatever helped me sleep. His voice did not shake, his hands did not fidget, he just stared. For some reason that control scared me more than a shouting match would. I almost asked where he had gone at 5:05 p.m. exactly. Instead, I opened my phone again and checked the group chat from work. A teammate had just dropped the river clip into our office channel again. They added a comment about our spark being obvious even on camera. I smiled, feeling secretly pleased, even as my stomach twisted slightly. I noticed Liam glancing at my screen reflection in the dark television. He did not say anything, just reached for his mug and stood up. The quiet made me feel like I should fill it with more self-defense. I started explaining again how harmless everything was, how people overread normal closeness. He stopped near the hallway and turned back for a brief moment. He said that whether something was harmless would not be decided by my captions. Then he walked away, leaving me alone with my glowing phone and hot cheeks. The next morning at work, our internal group chat exploded with new laughing messages. Someone had clipped my starter husband joke and turned it into a meme. My co-workers tagged me. Adrian reacted with a smirking emoji and little flames. I played along, answering that some men were simply allergic to strong women. While I enjoyed the attention, a small stone of worry sat in my chest. Just before lunch, I stepped away from my desk to get coffee. When I came back, Priya leaned over and said something interesting happened. She said Jonas had stopped by Liam's department and pulled him aside. According to her, Jonas asked him for a quick word in private. She said Liam looked composed but very, very serious walking into the side room. I pretended it was nothing, but I could not shake the strange feeling. The rooftop bar felt like another world above the city noise. Coloured lights swung over the crowd, painting everyone in soft pink shadows. Music thumped through the floor and the air smelled like citrus. I told myself this was just a work celebration, nothing serious. Adrian waved me over like I was the guest of honor tonight. His hand brushed my waist as he guided me through people laughing. I did not pull away because honestly it felt good and right. He said the launch would have failed without me keeping everything from collapsing. I said the team helped, but secretly I believed him completely, without doubt. Liam arrived later wearing his usual neat shirt, looking slightly underdressed beside Adrian. I saw him near the bar, standing alone, holding a small drink. He watched me with that steady, quiet gaze I was starting to hate. I thought if he saw me shining, he would finally appreciate me. Instead, his face looked stiff, like he was bracing for something heavy. Adrian called for everyone's attention and asked them to gather by the railing. Co-workers cheered and pulled out their phones, ready to record another playful toast. He put his arm fully around my waist and pulled me forward. I felt the warmth of his body, the crowd's eyes, and my power. Adrian said I carried the campaign, that I was his secret engine. People laughed and shouted that we were the real power couple now. Someone yelled that Liam should be afraid, and everyone howled like that was hilarious. I heard the words, felt them, but smiled like I was totally comfortable. I glanced toward the bar and saw Liam staring, jaw tight, but still calm. His eyes moved from Adrian's arm around me to my laughing face. A group started chanting for a kiss like it was some party game. Adrian leaned in, pressing his cheek against mine, lips almost brushing the corner. I tilted my head slightly, not enough to break away, not enough to meet. Cameras flashed, and I knew this would live online within minutes, easily shared. I told myself it was harmless, just office fun, nothing actually crossing lines. But even in the moment, something in my stomach twisted against my will. Later, in a smaller circle, people kept bringing Liam into their jokes. One co-worker said Liam must feel like the intern beside our dynamic leadership. I responded too quickly, saying Liam was great with spreadsheets but not with sparks. Laughter exploded around me, loud and sharp, pressing like heat against my skin. I watched people double over, some recording, some whispering, all enjoying his humiliation. Liam heard that. I saw his shoulders stiffen but his face stay composed. He did not come over, did not make a scene or shout. He simply closed his tab and set his glass down very carefully. For a moment, his calm scared me more than anger ever could. When we finally left, the elevator ride down felt longer than usual. In the parking garage, the air was cold, smelling like fuel and dust. We walked in silence until he stopped beside our car and faced me. He asked in a quiet voice if embarrassing him made me feel powerful. I told him everyone knew it was a joke and he was overreacting again. He said that joking about sparks with my boss had a clear meaning. I accused him of trying to control my career and reputation out of jealousy. He answered that my career was mine, but he still had a name. The way he said name made it feel heavier than any shouted insult. I rolled my eyes and told him people just understood me better than he did. He looked at me for a long moment, then simply nodded once. He said he was paying attention now and would remember what actually happened. There was no threat in his tone, just steady, serious resignation and distance. We drove home mostly silent except for Sophia's soft snoring in the back seat. When we reached the apartment, he carried her upstairs without another discussion. The next morning, the fallout from the party started traveling faster than I expected. My phone buzzed with notifications, co-workers tagging me in clips and memes. Someone had posted the near-kiss moment with a song about dangerous love. Another had turned my spreadsheet versus sparks line into a joke caption. I laughed along publicly, replying with winking faces and little flame emojis everywhere. Inside, though, I felt a tiny ache I could not quite name. In the kitchen, Liam sat at the table quietly drinking coffee and reading. I saw on the wall calendar a new red circle around a future date. Next to it, in his small, neat handwriting, it said, Maple Office, 3:40 p.m. I asked about it, acting casual, stirring sugar into my coffee too fast. He said he had some personal things to handle and left it there. His phone buzzed with a call labelled private, and he stepped into the hallway. His voice was low, even, almost emotionless, like he was reading a report. When he returned, he did not mention the call, and I did not ask. That afternoon, he declined an invite to another team outing where Adrian would attend. He said he was tired and needed to visit his parents with Sophia instead. He added that they needed some calm family time without extra background noise. His phone stayed close to him now, face down, always fully charged. I called it strange, but he said he was just being responsible with important information. Later that week, I took Sophia to the supermarket for a quick grocery run. In the checkout line, one of my co-workers recognized me and waved excitedly. She said the rooftop clips were legendary and that Liam had looked like a saint. I asked what she meant, and she said he had stood there so calmly. She said most husbands would have exploded if their wives joked like that publicly. I forced a laugh and replied that maybe he was just too sensitive sometimes. The cashier watched us quietly, eyes moving between me and Sophia holding cereal. I felt judged, which annoyed me, so I spoke even louder about independence. I told the co-worker that strong women needed partners who could handle bright light. She nodded uncertainly, like she did not fully agree but feared sounding old-fashioned. As we left the store, Sophia asked why people kept talking about rooftop videos. I told her it was just grown-up office fun, nothing important for children. She asked if Daddy liked those videos because he looked sad last night. I said he was just stressed about work, not about anything related to me. Even as I reassured her, a strange chill ran down my back slowly. I remembered Liam's words in the garage about paying attention and remembering. I also pictured that small calendar note, Maple Office 3:40 p.m., quietly waiting. When I checked social media later, another new clip had started spreading widely. In it, someone zoomed on my smile while Liam stood blurred behind me. The top comment said that one person definitely knew this relationship had already ended. For a moment, I wondered if they might be right and simply ahead of me. The family dinner at the restaurant was supposed to calm everyone down. Long tables, sticky menus, soft music. Too many eyes on our marriage. Liam's parents sat near him, my mother and sister clustered around me. Nina, Adrian's ex, had been invited as some weird neutral friend. I told myself it proved everything was modern and mature and civilized now. In reality, it felt like sitting on a stage with bad lighting. Conversations started politely, weather and work, and Sophia's recent drawing obsession and school. I kept steering talk toward my new responsibilities, my bigger role at work. My mother smiled proudly and said I was finally getting the recognition I deserved. Lena jumped in and mentioned the rooftop clips, saying everyone was obsessed with them online. She said I had always had a thing for powerful men and bosses. People laughed, but some of the laughter sounded thin and uncomfortable around the edges. Michael, Liam's father, watched me steadily while folding his napkin very carefully. He asked gently whether everything was okay between us, since Liam seemed quieter lately. I flashed a bright smile and said Liam just had trouble keeping up sometimes. I added that my life had gotten more exciting and adjustment took time. Liam said we were figuring things out and that he was keeping track. The phrase keeping track landed like a little stone in the middle plates. I joked loudly that he meant he tracked grocery coupons and budget spreadsheets as usual. A few people chuckled, but Nina's expression barely moved, just her eyebrows tightening. Liam didn't argue, didn't defend himself, just took a sip of water. I hated that calm, because it made my jokes feel cheap and cruel. To fix the mood, I leaned forward and told a story about Adrian. I said he trusted my judgment more than some people at home ever had. That line got a bigger reaction, including a pointed look from my own mother. She asked quietly whether I appreciated what I already had or only wanted applause. I brushed it off, claiming she sounded old-fashioned and scared of successful women. Under the table, Sophia nudged my leg, sensing something wrong without understanding words. After dinner, we walked to the cars in a slow, awkward cluster. Michael hugged Liam a little longer than usual and said he was there. I heard him say that, then pretend I hadn't heard anything important or interesting. On the ride home, Sophia sat between us, swinging her legs softly. She asked why everyone looked sad when they talked about rooftop videos tonight. I told her adults just worry too much about silly things and misunderstanding jokes. She nodded, but her mouth stayed tight, eyes watching both of us carefully. The next afternoon, I took her to the playground to shake off tension. Children shouted, swings screeched, and the sky looked annoyingly peaceful and bright. Sophia climbed the slide ladder slowly, then came down and stood beside me. She asked why Daddy slept in the guest room again last night. I said he snored too much and the mattress there was better anyway. She frowned and said Grandpa had told Grandma that Daddy looked broken lately. Then she asked if I broke him, voice small but frighteningly clear and direct. For a second, I couldn't breathe because the word broke felt sharp. I recovered fast and told her grown-ups break themselves by thinking wrong thoughts. I added that Daddy just didn't like me having fun and shining. She looked at the other parents, then asked if I was leaving Daddy soon. I laughed and said she watched too many dramatic cartoons with intense storylines. Still, her question clung to me like damp clothes I couldn't peel off. That night, I woke early and wandered into the kitchen for some water. Liam was already there, sitting at the table with his laptop open. On the screen, I saw a neat file tree labelled Archive A and Archive B. There were no icons I recognised, just tidy folders, recently modified, very organised. Before I could make a joke, his phone alarm buzzed on the table. The label on the screen read, Paper Drop, 11:05 a.m., in small letters. I asked what he was dropping and if he had joined some secret club. He said calmly that he needed to deliver some forms and information downtown. When I asked what kind of forms, he said just household matters and shrugged. He closed the laptop slowly as if marking a page in an invisible book. After he left, I opened the wall calendar and saw more red circles. One date was already passed, the Harbour Centre 9:20 a.m., Reminder from before. Another red circle surrounded the Maple Office 3:40 p.m. appointment I'd noticed earlier. It looked like a map of something I wasn't invited to understand fully. When he came home that evening, his side of the house looked strangely ordered. His shoes were lined perfectly, his paperwork stacked in clean, careful piles. He asked about Sophia's homework, about the car insurance renewal, about the smoke alarms. The questions felt practical and cold, like we were roommates managing a shared lease. I told him he sounded like a landlord, not a husband, and rolled my eyes. He answered that it was wise to know how everything worked, just in case. That phrase, just in case, made my skin prickle, though I pretended it didn't. Later, in our bedroom, I tried to drag him back into emotional chaos. I told him he had humiliated me at the restaurant by acting mysterious. I said his words about keeping track made everyone think I was doing something wrong. He replied that he only answered the question honestly and didn't name anything false. I accused him of weaponizing silence and making himself look like a martyr victim. He said quietly that he had stopped trying to win arguments with me. He told me he only needed to understand the situation clearly and accept it. I snapped that he sounded like a therapist or a judge, not my partner. He replied that he was just a man who finally believed what he saw. We lay down in the same bed, but it felt like separate countries. His body stayed on his side, not even brushing my toes anymore. When I reached to touch his arm, he didn't pull away, just stayed still. The stillness felt worse than rejection because it held no warmth or desire. The next day, my mother came over carrying leftover dessert from the restaurant. She looked around the living room and commented that the house felt strangely tidy. She said Liam had always been neat, but now it seemed almost surgical. I poured coffee and complained that he was using organization as punishment against me. I told her he was sleeping in the guest room just to make a point. She said maybe he was protecting himself quietly instead of fighting loudly. I didn't like that phrasing because it made him sound wise and noble. I argued that he was manipulating everyone by looking calm while I looked dramatic. She shook her head and said, "Children notice tone more than words, usually." When she left, I watched Liam play a board game with Sophia on the floor. He laughed gently with her, but the laughter didn't soften when he looked at me. Later, at the playground again, Sophia slipped her small hand into his. She looked from him to me and asked if we were breaking apart now. Liam glanced at me, then knelt to meet her eyes with careful gentleness. He said adults sometimes had hard seasons, but would always love her completely. She turned to me and repeated the question about whether I was leaving Daddy. I forced a smile, said nothing final, and joked about dramatic movie endings instead. Her question hung between us while his phone buzzed in his pocket, screen flashing a muted notification from a thread simply titled Follow-up. By the time Friday came, Liam felt like a stranger roommate. He moved his clothes into the guest room without announcing any change. When I joked about him abandoning our bed, he barely looked up. He said sleep was easier without someone live-streaming our every argument. One morning, I saw his calendar open on the family tablet. A block event read, Midtown Center, 2:30 p.m., colored bright orange. Below it sat a recurring item called Meeting Personal every single Tuesday. That afternoon, he left with a slim folder labeled Household under his arm. When he returned, his questions were all business, never warmth or curiosity. He asked about insurance renewals, spare keys, emergency contacts, nothing actually romantic anymore. That night on the sofa, his laptop glowed with organized little folders. I teased that he was building a case file, trying to scare me. He looked at me calmly and said facts were finally his only language. Then he closed the laptop, met my eyes, and said he'd handle everything properly. His voice stayed low and polite, like a customer service script about consequences. For a moment I even felt cold, though I laughed it off loudly. Our 10th anniversary started in the glass lobby, not upstairs. I arrived early, dressed to impress, certain I could fix everything. Liam waited near the chairs, holding a small dark folder tightly. He handed it to me instead of even offering a hug. Inside were printed messages, photos, dates, even that parking garage reflection. Then a woman approached, confirmed my name, and passed another envelope. Liam said quietly, it was the divorce petition with temporary orders. I saw frozen accounts, proposed custody, and a date for hearing. My apology finally spilled out, but he turned away, walking outside alone silently.